Welcome to everyone, and I would like to welcome you as well, doing this long trip to Hungary. And as you know, Hungary has a strong tradition in everything which is related to horses. And that's why we are very open to any issue related to these wonderful animals. And my first question is, when I prepared to this conversation, that there is this Atin Dalal conservation program. Can you explain for us what is it all about?
Yeah. Thank you very much. And first of all, thank you very much to invite us for this event. And we are coming from Kazakhstan. And Kazakhstan is the country of the steppe ecosystem, the grassland ecosystem. And we are happy to come here to share with our experience how we do conserve this fragile ecosystem. And the steppes, they become to be home for many endangered species, like a saiga antelope, who are aware of this antelope with the very strange nose, and another fascinated bird species like a steppe eagle and the bastard, Hubara bastard, and another small birds like a larks and the waders, steppe species. And also it's a quite rich biodiversity in the steppe. But on the same time, it's been the home for these species. Steppes become to be least protected landscape in the world, and especially because the steppe ecosystem become to be used quite heavily by the people for agriculture developments. And you all probably know about this famous program from the Soviet Union as the Tselina, when the massive scale of the steppe was recultivated for the agriculture land. And also the mining is also quite heavily happen now in the steppe, and infrastructure development. And to conserve steppe is important because we want to keep this biodiversity, and also it's very important to understand that the steppe ecosystem plays really important role in the climate change issue as a mitigation measures, because the steppes and the grasslands, they can conserve and carbon even the more than the forest does. And there are a lot of scientific based publication on this, why the steppe ecosystem are important in the mitigation of the climate change as well. So 12 years ago, we as the national organization come together with the government, and with support with the free international organization, we come together and organize the program for the steppe restoration in the country. So it's named Altyn Dala Conservation Initiatives, and the Altyn Dala, from the direct translation from the Kazakh language, means golden steppe. Yeah, because the climate conditions means that already in the July, steppe become very dry, and it has this yellow color, like a really golden. So how do we work? As I mentioned before, in the steppe we have such a problem like destroying of the habitats because of the different human activities. And also there is a quite heavily economical developments in the countries, and there are a lot of developments of infrastructure, like the new big roads, railways. And those linear infrastructure then fragmentate habitats of the animals, which are primary migration, long-distance animal, like the saiga. For example, saiga antelope, they migrate around 1,000 kilometers from the south to the north, and then from the north to the south again within 1 year. And the animals, they do this because they looking for the good conditions for the food, and because the season has been changed. And it's important to keep this connectivity between their key habitats. And another issue that we also facing is the illegal trading because of the horns of these animals, and of course the poaching for the different kind of the species. So we work to mitigate those issues, and we do work for the few primary directions. So we, of course, the first thing, as we work with the government on the policy, on how to make a national program for agriculture, for infrastructure development as sustainable. We do work with the research and the conserve key species. We do work with the national protected area to make network of these protected areas and to create connectivity between them. And of course, it's important to make awareness about the program. So we do work with the schools, with the local communities to raise awareness about the importance of this ecosystem in the country. So I think this is like a
This
key
is the
message.
program.
Yeah.
Thank you. And do you have effect, for example, on the road construction or railway construction, how they can do in a proper way that these animals can still exist? So do you have effect on the politics, what to do?
Yeah, we do have, but I cannot say this is the easier, because maybe in the Europe it's quite famous that you have these green bridges,
Yes, yeah.
which is connect different parts of habitats. But the steppe is not a forest; it's the open landscape. And can you imagine that Saiga will go to the bridge in the steppe? No way. So that's why to find solution is very, very difficult, and that's why planning of the road have to be very careful, because if you build the road on the wrong way, and if you destroy migration, it's difficult to do any mitigation after that. So you need to think before how to plan the road to avoid that you cut migration ways. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And what role do the horses have in this program? Can you, one of you, tell me how are the horses included in this program?
In this program, yeah, the horses like ungulates and other big animals and even domestic horse, they plays important role for the steppe. And to understand why, it's important to understand that evolutionarily steppes create because of the grazing and because of the fires. And the steppes cannot be functional healthy without those animals who create this sustainable grazing. And a long, long time ago, we had a big number of these horses, the wild horses in the country, and also saiga and the kulans, which are something middle between horses and ass. And those animals, they create this effect on the steppe. They grazed steppe, and it was sustainable. Then after the wild population of the horses extinct, we have many of domestic animals. And as you know, the Kazakhstan, before they kept this nomadic type of their breeding of the cattle, when there are big scale of the landscape used on the different parts in the different seasons. Unfortunately, after the Soviet Union became to be in the Kazakhstan, and so this is the nomad style of the how Kazakh people breed their cattle. It was broken. So this classic approach, and now the most of the animals, they do breed and do graze around settlements, around the small villages, which bring the problem of their overgrazing around these villages. And at the same time, there is a problem of the undergrazing in the far distance, because there are a lot of plants, and because there are no animals who can graze those plants, it's become more and more fire. And it's again like a destruction of the landscapes on the natural base. So that's why it's really important to do two things, is to create this population of the wild horses, and also to do policy in agriculture on the more sustainable way, when there is a balance between pasture lands.
But did I understand well that domestic animals, if we learn from these lessons from the wild animals, can we do better use of the steppe, of the grassland, with the domestic animals as well? So do we, is it a competitive, or is it a cooperation between domestic and wild animal keeping, let's say, or can it be? So this is...
Yeah, of course it's not easy, because the competition between wildlife and domestic exists, especially because of the water resources, because of the pasturelands, and also specifically with the Przewalski horse is the problem of the hybridization between those two species.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why this wild horses extinct in the country was that they hybridizate with the domestic horse.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Did you want to mention
Yeah?
something? Or okay, then can you tell us a little bit about the population of the different species you mentioned? Three here. How big are these, and on which size of area are they kept? I mean, the white horses, the antelopes, and also this white donkey or whatever.
No, no, no. Okay. Maybe Albert can tell about the population of the different animals currently in the country.
Yeah. Thank you very much for giving the chance to talk today. In Kazakhstan, the most biggest population of ungulates we have is a saiga, and we estimate more than 800,000 animals across in Kazakhstan, which is not bad. But still, in some part of the area, we have limited of these ungulates. And another ungulates, the Przewalski horses, which Kazakhstan started this program in more than almost 20 years ago, and where we brought 14 animals to Altenemel National Park, which is situated in the south part of Kazakhstan. Yeah, with some obstacles, it was difficult to expand this project. One of the issues is because this animal was not in a red list species, it was difficult, because less protection and of course for developing in a program. But now when the species was listed in this year, finally, we can thinking how we can expand this program and try to bring in another area. Well, since that time, we learn a lot about this animal, on his behavior, on his also what they need. And 2 years ago, we created a new feasibility study where we already include some good area or precise area where we can develop or bring the horses. Yeah.
Okay. And where is this, the horse population is this Przewalski horse, as I understood. And where is the original population coming from? Was it part of it in Kazakhstan, or was it a cooperation with other zoos or something like that? In Hungary, we have a similar program in Eastern Hungary, and there they were brought for, I think from Germany, 20-something Przewalski horses started the program, and now they have, I think, around 300. So what was the origin of this horse? Where is the origin of these horses that are now grazing in Kazakhstan?
Yeah, originally the horses in Kazakhstan was extinct in 1883. Yeah, it was almost 200 years ago. And all animals, all reintroduction program what we have in Central Asia or across the Eurasian continent, they came from the Europe zoos. Yeah, and also in Kazakhstan, the first group was brought from Munich Zoo. And now, if we are talking about the future program, we of course looking for some European animals, which will be combined from different zoos. Yeah.
I didn't understand. What is the size of the population of horses? How many horses
in Kazakhstan?
In Kazakhstan.
Yeah, in Kazakhstan we have in the wild only 5 in Altenemel and other animals in the zoo. Yeah.
Okay.
Like not really population.
Okay, good. Yeah. So, do you have a cooperation then with other zoos or programs like in Hungary, and do you make exchange?
Yes, sure. We have a different cooperation with some scientific group in Europe and some zoos, and as well now we have relationship with the Russian program, which is started recently, just 5 years ago, and of course we have a good cooperation with Mongolia. They actually have a really good success with the program. They have at least 4 programs in Mongolia, which will also take some experience, and then
and when you look at this population, I probably you make a lot of experiments and try to learn how they behave. Do you have a cooperation with the university, or is it just your organization that's trying to understand how you could grow this population, for example?
Well, all program, I mean, the reintroduction program, of course, is considered not just conservation, the approaches, but also research. And for the horses, we actually work in some institute, I mean, university, which is, I mean, have a really big focus on the horses, like in Austria or in the Czech Republic.
Okay.
Yeah, and in our feasibility study, what we have created, have some big block of the science, because in Kazakhstan we only had the experience only in Altinamir, but it's just one ecosystem area, which also we learned that it's a suitable area, but really not good for Przewalski horses in Kazakhstan. And then we will plan it in a central part, also considered eastern part of Kazakhstan, where is a different ecosystem, and of course we need to have a good research program or just this block to the future.
What kind of technologies do you use to identify, for example, the individuals of this herd?
Well, for individuals, of course, we only can use this genetical analysis. But before, when the animals came to the country or just to the area where they will start the reintroduction program, they already will be selected individual, of course. And then in the future, when the population will development, of course, the genetical study will be extend
More
or
intense.
continue to, yeah.
How many foals are born in one year, for example, in this
In Kazakhstan?
in this population? Yeah, in Kazakhstan. How many foals of Przewalski horses?
Since 2003, we had at least 12 falls. Yeah.
Okay.
And in last year, we also had a falls from these two animals, which was brought to 2007. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's also show that this animal can survive, but they need like a deep research and prepare the good condition for his development.
As my original profession is veterinarian, do the animals need a vet? Ever do any time need a veterinarian? And how does it happen? Because they are wide. Do you have an area if they need a vet to make them sleep and then to treat, or how can you explain what if one is injured? What happens? Injury if for a white horse, if it's injured, what happens then? Do you call a vet and you try to fix it?
I think it's the main barriers and limits of in the Kazakhstan that we cannot really develop the program for the pure horses on the massive scale is the vets.
Okay.
Like we still don't have a professional veterinarians on wildlife. We do have quite a good vets focusing on domestic horses, and this is one of the main steps is to build this capacity in the country, to create the number of the vets who can focus on the specifically ungulates, and to that we can be more flexible and react in the time on the proper way what to do with the specific individuals on the different kind of cases that can be happen. Yeah.
Okay. And
can I add something? Yeah, but you're right that the vets specialists is really important for any reintroduction, any program. I just remember when we transported the first kulans from the south part to the central, it was really necessary, but not only for transporting this time, but also afterwards. I remember how the parasitologists work on and look at on the microscope how many different parasites and also you can say if the animals have a good adaptation or not.
Okay. And with the kulans, do you have more experience? It's a bigger population, as I understood. So what do you see now? What are the critical points for this population to grow? What is the limiting factor, let's say, in the steppe for them?
No, I can say briefly that we have a few cases of the translocation of the kulans.
Okay.
And the successful was this one when the area had a good protection and they have natural barriers. For example, the mountains, there is a road, for example, and then the animals are like being in the enclosure, but on the more natural way. And having the animal in this such limits, geographical limits, is the more easier to protect them. And all successful cases, they are linked to these two factors. When the area where the animal are released is protected well, and there is a natural barriers that keeps animal on this area. Yeah.
Okay.
And one more additional point that, as you know, the Kazakhstan is a huge country, and the importance to know the transportation issue, it should be close with the main, city, or at least have a good road covered just to transport, very fast.
Okay. And if somebody from Hungary goes to Kazakhstan and would like to see it, is it a program or it's like for tourists or people who are interested? Is it any possibility to go and visit these animals, or is it just for science and very closed operation at the moment, or is it possible to see on the wide?
Altınemir National Park, where we have a biggest group of the kulans, they're very open for touristic purpose, because the national parks, they become a primary for touristic destinations. And now there are around 3,000 animals live in this national park. It's quite easier for tourists also to observe those animals. And also to see this small group of the Przhevarsky horses as well. So this is the possible. We now have this reintroduction center in the central Kazakhstan, and this center we try to keep as the only scientific center. Yeah.
And all grasslands, steppe, are national parks, or some of the territories that are now used by animals don't belong to a national park. So the national park system covers all the steppe that are used for this program?
Yeah. There is only around 4% of the country is covered by protected areas.
10%?
4. 4, yeah.
Okay.
And of course, the area is huge, and we do have a protected areas in the steppe, and our organization was also involved on how to plan this area. So we try to keep specific areas which is important for the reproduction season of the animals. But the main importance is to build connectivity between those areas, because the animals, they are migrate. They are not occur in the one specific area for the whole seasons. They can change their positions, and it's important also to build such eco corridors between the protected areas. And this is something that we try to also develop, this connectivity between protected areas. Yeah.
Okay, and the foundation for this program, is it state-run, or do you have, so the money comes for your program? Is everything under the state, or do you have sponsors, for your private sponsors?
So the initiative has 5 key partners, and of course the different partners have a different contribution. Like the government of Kazakhstan, they have this in-kind contribution of the protecting animals, and of course they also budget the annual survey of the animals and the protection. So we have a specific agency in the country named Okhot Zoprom, and this agency specifically focuses on the protection of this red-listed species of the ungulates. And we do have the major contribution from the financial perspective from international organization and the foundations.
Yes, I saw in this initiative you have many other countries involved, and do these countries send experts or students to your to this program? So are there many students or let's say experts coming to Kazakhstan to help or to learn, or to help and learn from these programs that you run?
I cannot say there are many people, there are many students, but the interest exists. We have every year we have a request from the European universities that we can build a collaboration and to also organize some internship for the student in our program. And especially we also try to do this, and we also try to do this for the national students as well, to provide opportunities to do research in the program. Yeah.
And I can say also, in our experience with working with the students, we have, I can say 80% of vet people, of veteran students.
Veteran students.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also with the Kulan and the Saiga, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. So, what is the short or medium term goal? What would you, if you can wish, what would you like to see on these territories? What is your dream or program?
Yeah, dream.
Or how is it the program related to dream?
Yeah, of course, it's based on this, on the areas that we work. We want to be more clear about the current status of the population of the key species, because one of the issues that because the country is huge, and sometimes we don't have enough resources to cover research of the different species. Like we have this key species of the steppe eagle, but we still don't know what is the status of the steppe eagle in the specific part of the country. So the first thing we want to have a clear picture about the status of the different populations, and we want to be that national policy meet recommendation and do the planning of the infrastructure and the building the agriculture program based on the ecosystem approach, and the meet requirements on the how to do this sustainable for biodiversity primary. And of course we see at the steppe full of the ungulates, the wildlife, animals, which is only the key way to make steppe healthy.
Okay. So, and how do you see, because you mentioned, that was a very interesting sentence, that the steppe is as effective in the carbon issue like forest you mentioned. So that's a very interesting statement, because people traditionally think that we had a lot of trees. So does it mean that this could be a tool in the environment protection to enlarge these territories, and to if we have a better knowledge how you can maintain that, this could be a real goal to have, let's say in 10 years when we sit, you would be happy to see we had that much when we started, now we have so many steppe under this type of activities. Is it the goal to enlarge?
Yeah. The first step is to build awareness about this, because even the government and decision makers, they are not very well known about that steppes play important role, like a mitigation measure in the climate change. Okay. And Kazakhstan, as all countries, has their own national determination contributions, and this is also the way to meet our national contribution by protecting the steppes. Okay. And also protected and sustainable use, because to implement the sustainable use of the management of the pasturelands, when you don't destroy it and the one pasturelands, but make the balance between how you are distributing animals between different range of the pasturelands, it's also like one of the sustainable way to make steps to conserve more carbon. And also the important thing is to improve inventory methods of this, because it's the most difficult to calculate, because the steppes and the soil, it's not stable, it's dynamic, it's changed, and you always need to keep this monitoring system to make these methods are more efficient, how to calculate this.
So if optimal word, if one day the polluting people will pay for this service that the steppe delivers, then the funding is solved. Is it realistic that in the sooner or later, if the balance is needed, then those who cannot afford or don't have steppe, are they paying for the activity?
This is the very good, in the long term, is the good potential offset projects. Like we do plant the forest, like offset and the compensation project, but on the same time we can conserve the landscape of the grasslands, which would be the also interest for the investors who want to do the compensation. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. That's a positive end. I think if we have kept our time limit very well. So thank you for this conversation. I think there were a lot of new information for all of us. And have a nice day at this nice expo and in Hungary.
Yeah, thank you.
So much.
Thank you to invite us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.